So we need to start thinking about what happens to Russia if they cannot protect themselves from Ukrainian strikes, which is crazy, but that's where we are. I mean, it's one thing for a single drone to slip through here or there, but we are seeing dozens of strikes every single day against high-value targets in areas that Russia knows it has to protect, and it isn't, or maybe they can't. This is genuinely a time in the war unlike anything we have seen over the past 4 years, so let's get into it. In fact, just last night, the Ukrainian SSO, or Special Operations Forces, released this footage highlighting this issue exactly. They said the railway bridge over the North Crimean Canal in Crimea no longer exists. They say both the railway track was destroyed and one of the spans collapsed. At the same time, the underground fighters of the SSO resistance movement reported the arrival of special railway repair equipment. The second phase of the mission was then launched. On the night of June 23rd, SSO drones hit both the repair equipment and the remaining parts of the bridge. For context, they say this was a strategic military logistical artery of the Russians. The object was part of the transport corridor for the movement of goods, resources, and military material assets in two key directions, from the Russian Federation through Crimea to support the southern grouping of forces, and also within the peninsula to maintain the functioning of the military infrastructure there. The reason this is so key to what we're talking about here is we've got one of the few rail bridge crossings into Crimea. A peninsula is already very much at risk at being cut off, and we have seen now for months Ukraine carrying out this isolation operation that in Russian media, Russian military officials are talking about. It's not a secret. Rail lines are some of the few access points to the peninsula, so Russia knew it was important, or you would think they knew it was important. It still got hit, so it wasn't protected enough. Right? Maybe there was some air defense there. It didn't work. Ukraine was able to hit it. Then when they go to repair it, whatever they did to plus up that air defense or replace whatever was there was inadequate. That's if they did anything at all. And this sensitive location that was already hit by Ukraine once was then targeted again with the repair equipment being hit at the same time. And the fact that Russia cannot stop these strikes is incredibly telling. We've seen this at oil refineries in recent days as well, where Ukraine will carry out a number of strikes. Some of these have been hit 3 or 4 times, I think, in the span of a week. And if it gets hit once, that should be a notch on the radar. Hey, this is an important target. Whatever we had there was not adequate to stop these Ukrainian strikes. You either reallocate resources, maybe you move something nearby, you adjust the defensive posture. That is if you have the adequate resources. And the fact that so many of these drones keep getting through suggests that Russia doesn't have the ability to protect everything all at once. Now, we are starting to see the deployment of some of these mobile counter-drone teams. They have been successful in intercepting some Ukrainian drones. We've seen the footage of that. Very clearly, it's not enough. In fact, some of these mobile teams, essentially machine guns and interceptors in the back of sometimes military vehicles, sometimes just pickup trucks, and it's being used by Ukraine as well. This is a normal tactic in this war. We've already started to see some of these mobile counter-drone teams straight up targeted by Ukrainian drones, kind of running convoy, if you will, for some of these logistics runs. And then in other cases, we've actually got a video right here where, I don't know, that team just like, were they sleeping or maybe didn't have the adequate material to try to shoot down this drone, didn't know it was coming? I don't know. You've got the protection truck right there, didn't do anything. Ukrainian drone still gets through. Turning to some Russian assessments of what we're seeing here, military informant, a war correspondent says, quote, "The lengthy campaign conducted by Ukraine over the past year to disable the Crimean air defense system is yielding its results for the enemy. With each passing day, Ukrainian drones feel increasingly free in the skies over the peninsula and are inflicting more and more significant blows to its vital activities. The enemy is clearly exploiting the window of opportunity created by the problems with the availability of traditional air defense systems, which are already in short supply, and the typical tardy response in the development of small-scale air defense, which is still lacking." Small-scale air defense, you're talking about some of those handheld interceptors. We've seen Russia effectively utilize those at times. They no doubt have that technology. A key component there is, from my understanding, some of these interceptors only have a 3-kilometer range. That's very short for some of these high-speed Ukrainian drones coming in. That's, you get one chance. And if you miss, that thing's coming in hot. So what this all means, we've got the Ukrainian commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Brovdy, Madyar, said, quote, "Moscow will fall in Crimea. Ukraine's unmanned systems forces will help to make it happen," end quote. And what we're seeing play out right now is a snowball effect, right? So if Crimea falls, that does not mean the entire Russian country falls or the war is lost for Russia. It's this snowball that is highlighted right now in Crimea. So For instance, when a fuel truck gets hit, it means you have to bring in now more fuel with fewer vehicles. Then when a bridge gets hit, like we've seen countless times in recent days, you now have to bring in more fuel on fewer vehicles on fewer roads. There's not that many access points to Crimea. Then when air defense systems get hit, be it like genuine air defense systems like Book or Pantsir or things like that, or these mobile teams, you now have to bring in more fuel with fewer trucks on fewer roads with less protection, which means that it's even easier for Ukraine to continue whittling these numbers down. That is happening. Like we're watching that exact thing play out day by day. Now, there's a short and a long-term impact here. Short term is that we're starting to see fuel and supplies cut off to Crimea. And the Crimea is incredibly symbolic to Russia and Ukraine, but there's more to it than that. It's kind of forcing Putin's hand in a way. So we're seeing that the Russian citizens, in fact, earlier today, there was an announcement that anybody traveling across the bridge to Crimea can bring 200 liters of fuel. Bring your own gas if you want to go on vacation in Crimea, because there may not be any once you're there. That's wild. We're seeing power outages reported across the peninsula for long stretches of time. Summer camps for the kids. Yes, Russia was still sending some of their kids to occupied Crimea for summer camps. Summer camps are being closed, and there are significant delays getting to and from the peninsula. In fact, the Ukrainian GUR just released a transcript from an intercepted call from someone in Crimea a few days ago that said, quote, "We don't have any gasoline. The trains are running poorly. It takes 8 hours to get from Armyansk to Simferopol by train. The buses don't run at all. This all started about 2 weeks ago. Apparently, it will get worse in the summer," end quote. So short term, we're seeing a disruption in Crimea, and this is mostly being felt by the citizenry there because the military is taking the available resources. Short to medium term, this becomes a major issue for the Russian military. Long story short, a decision has to be made. Who gets the fuel, civilians or military? Who gets the added protection, civilians or military? Again, Russia does not have enough air defense to go all around. What is the priority? Russian mill blogger Romanov, complaining about this, said, quote, "People are standing with canisters in an oil-producing country with ration coupons for gas at a gas station with a sign that says, 'No gasoline.'" And he sarcastically says, "The situation is stable. The country is in flames. Everything is going according to plan." And this is spreading not just in Crimea, but across the rest of the country. Yesterday, two majors, another Russian war correspondent, posted kind of the Russian version of the famous meme where everything's burning and the person says everything is fine. And he was talking about how fuel is now being rationed in the Irkutsk region. This is a ways away from Ukraine, right? Like a long ways away. The governor there had just stated that fuel restrictions have been implemented and that some gas stations have halted service altogether. And this is a combination of course, what we're seeing in Crimea is very localized to Crimea, but also the strikes against energy infrastructure around the country is starting to have an impact in the short and medium term. Long term, what this means, like straightforward, supplies don't get to the front. The military will not function. Offensive operations are the first to cease. Then defensive operations, even holding the line, will not be sustainable at some point if supplies can't get there. Now, I do want to stress that right now it's not entirely clear that the effect of this middle strike campaign is being felt exactly on the front. I've heard mixed results. We had one source say that they are already seeing a decrease in Russian offensive operations. Talked to somebody else just yesterday that said actually the units say they're not seeing a direct impact. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. As this logistical lockdown spreads, it will likely become more and more critical. And we should note that this isn't slowing down. If anything, this middle strike campaign is ramping up. I mean, in just the last 48 hours, every single day, a number of Ukrainian units are releasing footage showing the effects of these middle strikes. This is just a few. From the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces on June 22nd, they hit gas infrastructure in Crimea. They hit 3 different gas compressor stations. In Crimea, they hit oil storage tanks at the Kerch thermal power plant. They also destroyed in Crimea a Pantsir air defense system, an S-300 launcher, a Zu-23 anti-aircraft cannon, as well as a Nebo-U radar system near Kerch. In Kherson, they hit a bridge crossing a strait being used to transport supplies to the front. They hit a tugboat in the harbor being used to move Russian supplies. In Donetsk and Kherson, they hit a heavy tractor, a fuel truck. Luhansk, they hit armored vehicles. I mean, it's nonstop. Everywhere across the occupied territories is taking significant hits. These are not the armored personnel carriers or the pickup trucks that can be easily replaced. You're talking about very expensive, very complex air defense systems and logistics. Every one of these logistics vehicles that goes down makes it that much harder to keep the front supplied. To put this simply, this is unsustainable for Russia, and every day that goes by means that they have to dig out of a deeper and deeper hole. And it's pretty crazy right now, you think about it, to see the Russian airspace this permissive to $5,000 drones. But this is what happens after years of meticulous planning and coordinated strike campaigns. We are finally starting to see those results. And it is putting the Russian military in a very difficult situation. Where does the protection go? Who gets the mobile drone teams? Do you move those closer to the front that are coming under the range of short-range Ukrainian strike drones? Do you move them to the middle range, long, huge area having to protect in the southern occupied territories or Crimea? Or do you relocate them back into Moscow, say, to protect the population there and make sure they have gas, they have fuel, and they don't feel the impacts of the war? Every single day, Russia has fewer assets to protect more territory, and so long as Ukraine continues to surge the production and the purchase of these drones, this is a very negative trend for Russia and a positive trend for Ukraine. Now, quick fundraiser update. Like I said, major milestone, just crossed 300,000 euros raised so far this year in just 6 months with Car for Ukraine. That's incredible. You all should be so proud of yourself. Like, that is crazy, the impact you're having. And I'll play some videos here. Like, these trucks are being used at the front right now to save lives, to pull wounded soldiers off the front, to bring supplies forward where they otherwise wouldn't be able to get them. These are so incredibly critical, and your donations, your contributions, your sharing this campaign is having a very real direct impact right away. Now, I'm going to play a video from the commander of the unit that we're supporting here in a second, but I wanted to give a little more background for anybody that's not familiar with this organization, the work we've been doing here. We've done a number of fundraisers on this channel and through this community. This year, we're doing a year-long campaign with Car for Ukraine to support one specific battalion, the 2nd Battalion Seraphims of the 104th Territorial Defense Brigade. What Car for Ukraine does, and that's a unit fighting in Donetsk, by the way, so some of the hottest areas of the front. What Car for Ukraine does, incredible organization, all volunteers, by the way. They source vehicles from wherever they can get them, usually in Europe. They fix them up. They add winter tires when needed. When the units ask for it, they might add additional armor protection depending on what the unit is being, or what the truck is being used for. They paint it, deliver it to the unit very quickly. I mean, there's been times where we've had a request from a unit and like 2 or 3 weeks later, they're driving off with a vehicle that you all have provided from Car for Ukraine. In fact, the footage that I'm playing here is some of those trucks being utilized at the front. It's crazy. So we have already delivered 17 vehicles through this campaign. We've got a number of patches lined up. There's a wall where you can donate and add a little message, some incredible messages there from donors all around the world. And every single donation matters, from $5. We got a bunch of $5, $10, $20 donations, all the way up to big numbers. Jace, my man Jace, just a couple days ago, contributed enough to provide a full vehicle on his own. That's incredible. It's 11,000 euros. So think about that. That's the group of people coming together here to support those at the front that need our help with these vehicles. So for those interested and able, the link to contribute and learn more about this campaign is in the description below. That's all we got for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Бажаємо здоров'я, дорогі Престоне.
Вітаємо тебе, дорогий Престоне.
Дорогий Престоне Стюарте.
Дорогі Престоне, ми бійці 2-го БППС 104-ї бригади ТРО.
From Ukrainian soldiers, thank you for your support, Preston and Stuart.
Другий батальйон безпілотних систем. Привіт зі сходу України.
Бажаю здоров'я, дорогі Престоне. Бажаю здоров'я всім підписникам YouTube-каналу Престона Стюарта. Друзі, я командир 2-го батальйону безпілотних систем 104-ї окремої бригади «Горинь». Ми зараз на прекрасній Донецькій землі, в районі, де відбуваються одні, мені здається, найважливіших бойових дій за Краматорськ і Слов'янськ. Саме ці землі Владимир Путін вимагає віддати просто так, без бою. Це наша рідна земля. Ми б'ємося вже 4 роки, і ми не плануємо нікому нічого віддавати. Ми ефективно знищуємо противника і не даємо йому просуватися вперед. Ще вчора ми були ротою ударних безпілотних авіаційних комплексів, а також піхотним батальйоном. Сьогодні відбувається реформа Збройних сил України. Розвиваються безпілотні системи, і ми знищуємо ворога вже не так, як в 22-му році. За парадигмою 20-го століття ми воюємо дронами, ми воюємо наземними роботизованими комплексами. Ви навіть не уявляєте, як зараз змінилася картинка війни. Те, що ви бачите в голлівудських блокбастерах, вже не актуально від слова взагалі. Війна відбувається інакше. Це високотехнологічна сфера, це високотехнологічне вбивство одне одного. Але це наша земля. Україна – це країна, яка твердо стоїть на позиціях демократії. Це країна, яка твердо стоїть на позиціях свободи слова, прав людини, свободи віросповідання. Це ключові принципи, за які ми боремося, і ми не дамо жодному авторитарному режиму прийти і підкорити нас. Ми – щит Європи, ми – щит західної цивілізації. І ми просимо вас підтримати нас. На сьогоднішній день серед наших великих зборів збори на автомобілі. На таких пікапах ми доставляємо вантажі, ми доставляємо наші екіпажі. І це ефективний інструмент логістики. Підтримайте нас, і ви побачите, як ми працюємо. І вам це сподобається. Слава Україні! Слава американському народові!